Set your butane torches to high and your expectations to low. Coming to you from the cigar cave in the hills of the Steel City. Get ready to get your fix. This is the Cigar Junkies Podcast.
Welcome to the Cigar Junkies Podcast,
The cigar show for the community by the community.
a forum to talk stogies, booze, food, and anything else in the cigar lifestyle.
If you're looking for ratings, negativity, or an authority on all things cigars, you came to the wrong place.
Whether you like what you hear or not, please join the conversation and let us know by finding us
At the Cigar Junkies Facebook group.
or contacting us at thecigarjunkies@gmail.com.
What's up, junkies?
This is not Sam. I traded up, guys. If you do not know who the lovely man to my left is, stage right, Jeffrey Scales is filling in the seat for Sam Hoffman today because he had to be at, I think, as a gymnastics competition.
He's doing
for one of
backflips
the
right now.
kids. I don't imagine Sam's doing any backflips, not with the vertigo problems that he's had lately. Probably not. But no, Sam had some family priorities to attend to tonight. So we got the next best thing. Like I said, maybe it'll be an upgrade. We'll find out. Maybe that'll be your chair now.
I doubt it will be.
Yeah.
But I feel kind of intimidated sitting in Sam's chair. I almost moved that chair over just so I wasn't like,
Oh no.
you know.
See, this is the Sam chair. You don't want any part of that chair. You know whose chair that is?
No.
That's the wife's chair. That's Shannon's chair.
Oh,
that
okay.
chair is up here. Yes. You couldn't fill that chair.
No,
Nope.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want any part of that, for sure. So normally we would do a little bit of our intro, like, hey, how's it going? How was your week? We're going to do that, but we're going to skip over it until after we cut and light the cigar, because this is a cigar that Jeff has never had. And so I picked it specifically because I want to see how it appeals to him, because Jeff tends to smoke, lighter stuff, right?
Yeah, I'm a social smoker, you know.
But like, what are some of the cigars that you really enjoy in terms of the characteristics or brands?
Well, I probably prefer a Connecticut.
Mm-hmm.
Something that's a little bit lighter, a little bit creamier versus being on the too peppery side. So like a Christoph Pissed Off was a little too harsh for me, but like the Black Label Connecticut, the porcelain
Mhm.
was really good.
Okay.
So
Yeah, all right. Well, let's go ahead and we'll get the commercial playing, and then we'll talk about what we're smoking this week.
It's time for the Cigar of the Week, brought to you by Leaning House Fine Cigars. The Leaning House is your destination for the ultimate cigar smoking experience. Whether you're exploring their wide selection of premium cigars, unwinding in their comfortable lounge, or enjoying live music on one of the most unique and intimate live music venues in the burg, the house has something for everyone. Do you want to try the stick we're smoking today? Stop by leaninghousefinecigars.com or visit Dave in Bell Vernon or Heidi in Brownsville. Wherever you are, make the house your home for premium cigars.
Make the house your home for premium cigars. The cigar of the week is going to be the Leaf by Oscar Maduro Toro. Now, if you're unfamiliar with this cigar, a lot of people that'll pick this up and not know what it is will make the mistake of cutting this just as it is and attempting to smoke it, because they do not understand what's happening. They actually, instead of using cellophane to protect the cigar, they use this crazy looking leaf, and some people think that's what you're supposed to smoke, but it is not the case.
no.
So
that
what we're
would
going
be
to
a
do,
major fail.
yeah, so you're going to take off even the band on this, the outer band and the inner band are both made out of tobacco. So it's like tobacco paper.
Nice.
Um,
All natural.
Yeah, not hurting any trees. So problem is it's a little bit messy, and this is a great indicator if your cigar, your humidor is starting to lose humidity, because if your humidity in your humidor isn't right, this thing will crumble into a bazillion pieces. So this is pretty fresh out of the bag. It's going to come apart pretty well, but there's still going to be a little bit of a mess. And I'm going to put that back behind me because I don't want to fill up my ashtray with combustible material. And I'll give you guys a close-up. Now you can see that this is actually a very beautiful, oily cigar underneath. Not anything like the presentation on the outside. So I'm guessing that if you saw this cigar in this form, you might look at it and be a bit intimidated by it.
It's a pretty dark Maduro.
Yes. So that is kind of one of the reasons that I picked this, because it's one of my favorite cigars, but I kind of want to challenge your perception of, what a cigar is going to be based on its appearance. So I don't know if you typically, did you cut yourself on your lighter?
Nope.
All right. Examine or on your cutter. Do you ever cold draw? Something I try to do with every cigar.
Heard you talk about it, but I don't normally
Pretend
do it.
you're smoking it without lighting it. Sometimes you'll get a flavor characteristic on it. Amateurs. What are you going to do? Don't inhale. Don't inhale. Even whether it's lit or not. Just treat it like you would normally smoke.
Not a big fan of that part of it.
Okay. Well, that's pretty good. It's not as good as what Patty was cheering for you to spill your drink. That would have been the very Sam thing to do,
Patty,
right?
Come on.
That's right. So, all right, let's go ahead and toast these bad boys up. I'm eager to see what your opinion is. Now, I wouldn't call this a mild cigar by any stretch, but I don't think it's quite as overpowering as the appearance makes it look. I think it's like a little bit of a medium plus. I think it's got a little bit of a kick to it, but mostly it's just really good, full flavors. And I think you're going to enjoy it. Mostly because you like the Aladino Corojo Reserva Rothschild, or the Vintage Selection Rothschild that I gave you one night.
Yes,
Said it was the
you've given me
best
that a
cigar you
couple
smoked
times.
all night. I don't think this is any more powerful than that. I think it's probably less so. But it does have some pretty good flavor happening. So, while you take a second and get yourself acclimated to the cigar, I'm going to let you guys know about it. So it is a 6x52, leaf by Oscar Maduro. The wrapper is a Nicaraguan Maduro from the Jalapa region. And then the binder and filler are both Honduran. This cigar is actually made in Honduras at the Oscar Valadero Cigar Factory. And it looks like a gimmick, and a crummy one at that. Ugly at first sight. This stick teaches us that it's what's on the inside that counts. The Leaf by Oscar comes in 4 blends: Maduro, Connecticut, Sumatra, and Corojo. They're produced in Honduras and Danlí at the factory of the talented Oscar Valaderas. These smokes are actually anything but a gimmick. Whenever you take and light one up for the first time, you'll see what it's all about. There's a lot of flavor happening here. It's a really good cigar.
Very nice draw.
Oh, absolutely. So you could jump in with your impressions whenever you feel like it. You do not have to jump in right away if you don't, you know what I mean? If you don't have an initial impression, or you're worried that you're going to jump the gun, it's cool.
So whenever I look at a cigar, the first thing I do is, check out the body of the cigar, see how it's constructed. I usually get a feel for the firmness of it.
Okay.
To see how well it's packed and made, and if it's, I don't like it whenever they're rock solid, but I don't like them whenever they're, loose and not well constructed either. So this is very nice, firmly made, smells nice, and then when I take that first hit, it draws real nice, has a so far really pleasant taste.
Also, for an amateur, you're actually doing a lot of pro things there, right? Because I always say that cigars are something that should be enjoyed with all your senses. It's an art form. It's a very, very long process.
Yeah.
From the time that tobacco was planted, curated, selected, and then taken from the farm into the barns, and from the barns into, the fermentation rooms, and
Is it 300 hands or something like that?
150 people, 300 hands, and in general, like if you're smoking something decent, probably a year and a half to 2 years minimum from the time that you plant the seed, at least. So yeah, I mean, a lot goes into it, and it's very easy to just cut light, throw it in your mouth, light it up, and go. And we talked about that a little bit last week. Like, there are cigars that are great to have just as a background to something else that you're doing.
Yeah.
But like, I think when you're trying something for the first time, especially, it's nice to pay attention to all the characteristics and appreciate it for what it is, because this is not a habit. This is a hobby.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
So how does that hit you? Is it in terms of the strength? Is it overwhelming you at all? Is it
No.
stronger than you thought it would be? Or is it weaker than you thought it would be? I think this is really really approachable cigar for just about anybody, and that's kind of one of the things I'm gonna guinea pig you today and find out if my thoughts are right.
it's got a pretty earthy tone to it. Um, I don't get a lot of pepper from it.
No.
Um,
Yeah, you're not going to get pepper on these.
I don't really get a lot of creaminess from it either. I was reading in the description of it that it had a creamy profile, and I do enjoy cigars that have that creamy profile to them.
That description's
But
only
that might come a little bit later on as you smoke it too.
It's only as good as how well your palate relates to the person that wrote the description, right?
Yeah.
Like that's the thing, is that cigar smoking is subjective, taste is subjective. It's not quite the same as like going and eating pizza and knowing, oh, I'm going to get pepperoni and I'm going to get sauce and I'm going to get bread. It's a little more subtle than that. I don't get a lot of food characteristic flavors whenever I smoke them, just usually good or bad. Sometimes something will stick out to me, but that doesn't go hand in hand with my enjoyment. I enjoy them anyway, right? But there are things like you say the word earthy, and I do get what I would say like a mineral type of quality to it. Maybe even like a little bit of mustiness.
Little leathery, a little bit of leather hint to it to me.
I could see that. But yeah, I think this is going to fall more in the categories of like a coffee bean or something like that than it's going to get in terms of, you're not going to get a lot of real cream, I don't think.
Right.
Or pepperiness. Probably some sweetness. So one of the things about doing a Maduro process, I don't know if you know what Maduro actually means. It translates to mature in Spanish. So basically it just means that this wrapper has been on the plant longer than the other leaves, right? It's at the top. It's a top priming. It's harvested last or close to it. And the thickness of that extra time in the sun, the extra minerals that it gets from the earth, make it more pliable and able to stand up to the fermentation process that you need to make a dark leaf like this. So basically what happens then is they're piled up, they're put into what's called pilones. And essentially it's kind of like composting, right? Like the weight of the leaves on themselves, their own weight, and the temperature causes the tobacco to ferment, and it starts to release things like ammonia and things that would make that cigar taste bad. And the longer that you ferment, the more of those impurities you get out, and the more of the natural sweetness of the oils inside that tobacco are going to come to surface. So
I was reading an interesting article today about the difference between a plume on a cigar and mold on a cigar. And plume, according to this article, was actually a very good thing.
sure.
It said that that was the cigar releasing oils and impurities from it. And if you see a cigar in your humidor that has plume on it, and you can wipe it off with your finger or your nail, that's definitely plume, and that makes the cigar a more refined, aged, well.
Yeah, it's like wine, right? Like
Yeah.
The longer that you age it, the more of those impurities or negative characteristics are going to be released. Now, the way that like the big argument is plume or mold, right? Like being able to identify. I do believe there's a such thing as plume. And as long as you store your cigars properly, you're probably going to see that at some point if you hold on to them long enough. And it's almost kind of like powdery in appearance, right?
And it easily comes off.
Yeah. So what it is, it's actually the crystallization
That's right.
of the oils and so forth that are being released from the cigar. And it's just a sign that that cigar has had a long time to rest. Now, you can go too far, right? Like you can age a cigar too long. People think, oh, like the longer the better, the longer the better. No, not necessarily, because in 100 years, that tobacco is going to taste like nothing.
Right.
And there you can freeze them, like not temperature wise, but like if you keep it a lower humidity and a lower temperature, if you stay 60 and 60 instead of up towards 70 and 70, you have a better chance of holding on to that cigar being the way that it is. But the higher you have that humidity and temperature, then the more it's going to continue to go through that natural fermentation process
And the
continue
riskier
to
it is
change.
to turn into mold.
Well, yeah. I mean, as
With
long
the
as you
higher
stay
humidity.
under, 70 and 70 is like the top of the spectrum, right?
Right.
You don't want to go above that. But as long as you're controlling it and you stay there, all you're doing is you're essentially speeding up the aging process. Um, Another thing that you could do is the way that works is the cigar is actually breathing, right? So like if you're maintaining your humidor, the cigar is releasing humidity and then absorbing humidity again. So if you were to alternate between dry boxing the cigar or putting it in a dry environment and then rehumidifying it slowly, you don't want to do it fast. If you do it super fast, then you're going to essentially be abusing the cigar. You might have your wrapper crack on you. You want to do it gently. But if you dry box it and then humidify, dry box and humidify in cycles, it's actually going to speed up that process. So you can accomplish like 5 years of aging a cigar in 1 year if you do it right.
So I probably have a very common problem with my small little desktop humidor that most people have.
All right.
And that is keeping the humidity up around 70%.
What's your temperature?
Probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 68 to
Your temperature's
65
good.
to 68.
Okay, that's actually really good. So like,
But I still have a hard time keeping that humidity up. So I just my wife ordered a tube that you stick into the humidor, and that is supposed
what
to
type of
help.
humidification are you using?
That tube that I just mentioned.
What before that?
Oh, I was using the little
jar with the
plastic
gel in
cup.
it?
No, the little plastic cup that it comes with, the little plastic disc that you fill with distilled water.
Okay.
And then I was also using Bevita packs.
Okay, so the problem with the standard humidification unit that comes inside there, essentially what's inside of that is like sponges that florists use. You ever see that green flaky sponge stuff they use?
Yeah.
All right, so they're using that to hold the water, and that water then is humidifying, but they're small. And especially if you're in a place like Pittsburgh,
In the wintertime.
right,
Super dry.
you're dry. And in the summertime, you're running your air conditioner, which dries out your air as well, right? So like the natural air in your home is probably not going to be very humid.
Right.
So that's something that you're fighting against. So there's two different things that you can do. You can go to a better system of humidification like a gel or bead, or the Bovita packs are an excellent example of that as well. They're supposed to be two-way, so if it's over humidified, it'll absorb some of that humidity. The other thing is your temperature and seal. Now, it sounds like your temperature is okay. One thing that you can do for your seal is if it's I assume, in a relatively inexpensive desktop humidor.
It is.
Okay.
Goldsy got it for me.
All right.
So it's probably really cheap. No, I'm kidding, Goldsy.
Well, one of the things that you can actually do to improve your seal on an inexpensive humidor, and I've tested this, and my dad actually has a humidor down in Florida that he dropped once, right? And like the seal was never as good again. He said everything kept drying up. He didn't know what was going on. You take Scotch tape and you put it on the male part of the lip. So when you open the lid, the part of the seal that is facing upward is kind of like that male part. Just take and fold over a piece of Scotch tape along each length on each side. And that little extra bit of thickness that you're giving it might be enough to create a better seal. Look at you go, hitting the freaking fly. Yeah. The heater wakes him up. You got to admit, it's nice in here.
Yeah.
Considering how crappy it is.
Yeah,
outside
I almost
of Pittsburgh.
texted you and asked you if I should wear a long sleeve shirt or a light jacket or something because I knew that your studio was in your garage and
you
wasn't
don't
sure
watch
how
enough,
heated it
buddy.
was.
You don't catch the shows
No,
enough.
I do.
Because
I remember every day
we were
you guys are
we were
awesome.
on the day that it was -4 hard temperature.
I missed that show.
We were in our t-shirts in here.
Really?
Oh, 100% comfortable. Yeah, that thing is badass.
Yeah.
It does the job.
Yeah, it's throwing some heat.
It does a
good.
really good job. Yeah.
Not too hot though.
No, it's pretty decent. It's great t-shirt weather. But yeah, that's what I would. Oh Jesus, I don't know why I'm reading Patty's comments. Something about the seal in a bathtub. Yeah, all right. Your job's the chat room. If there's something not too disgusting and noteworthy, you could bring it up. Otherwise, I'm just gonna pay attention to you in the show notes, and we'll go from there. What was your week like, man? How's work been?
Work has been good.
Tell the kids what you do.
So I work in the oil and gas industry, and we install big black pipe. That's what I do. I lay pipe.
That's what she said.
And we install the pipe that they use to flow water to the well site in order to perform the frac.
I'm very familiar with that operation, but like, what is your responsibility on that job?
So
Mostly equipment operation.
it's a small company that I work for, and my main job is a health, safety, and environmental manager. So I keep
That's no fun.
I keep OSHA off of our back, and I keep the DEP off of our back.
Are you a cool safety guy, or are you a
No.
strict pain in the ass safety guy?
No, I mean, we have to have our I's dotted and our T's crossed.
Sure,
We're under
understand.
a lot of scrutiny, you
Sure.
know. But I think I'm pretty cool. I don't think I'm an asshole about it.
I wouldn't think that you'd be an asshole about anything,
So.
to be honest. So, like, for those of you that don't know Jeff, if I had to just, and I only met you within the last year, right?
Yeah, a year or two.
Since we started doing the show, I think. And if I had to describe Jeff is what every parent hopes their kid will be when they grow up.
What?
Just a nice person. Just super fucking nice.
Thanks.
Jeff is not like ever. I've never seen you try to be a hard ass. I've never seen you like dig at anybody other than a situation where you knew that it was absolutely the comfortable, fun thing that was okay. You are just like super
I'm a
soft.
big
Like
believer in karma, man.
you come across as like Mr. Rogers-esque. You know what I mean? Like
That's
Bob
exactly-
Bob Ross-esque.
Oh, I'm
Just fucking nice person. man.
definitely Bob Ross.
There you go. Little shorter fro. Still longer than mine, I'll point out. But yeah, so like you do equipment operation though?
Yeah, so it's
like
being
bulldozers
that it's
and
a
shit?
small company. There's only certain times that I can be wearing that HSE hat, and other times I run our environmental remediation crews a lot. So I keep our right of ways back up. Bring our right of ways back up to DEP standard whenever we're done putting the pipe in. And sometimes I run equipment. Sometimes,
That was kind of what I was trying
Doing
to get
interviews.
at. Is like, right, like you ever operate that fucking like a bulldozer out there, right?
yeah, all the time.
And
Yeah.
then you ever sit there though and go like,
This is fucking awesome.
This is what I wanted to do when I was like a little kid playing
Yeah.
in the fucking sandbox.
Yeah.
Because like my grandpap was a Caterpillar mechanic for 40 years.
Yeah.
And would go out and fix bulldozers and stuff for work. And like I always thought bulldozers and like backhoes and dump trucks were like the coolest thing when we were little.
That was
right?
my
Like,
favorite toy when I was a kid.
yeah. So like you ever just sit back and go like, yeah, like this is work. It is. But like this is the shit I was playing with when I was a kid, like wanting to do the real thing, and I'm doing it.
Yeah. Well, for 20 years before I started working, I've been working with this company for nearly 10. But before that, for 20 years, I was in the heavy equipment industry where I sold and rented heavy equipment
All right.
to contractors. And so I had a lot of time running the machines and getting to know them so that I could sell them.
Ryan Seneca's got the line for this episode. Nice guys lay pipe. I'm with it. I'm down with it.
I like that. It's better
Yeah.
than nice guys finish last.
We do that too, though, don't we?
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Well, you can't be,
I think I think in the short
you
term,
gotta have a little bit of an edge.
I think in the short term, the nice guy finishes last, right? But I think over the long term, like if you stick with it long enough for people to really measure you up against the other guys, I think you do okay.
I think that that you need to have a good balance, that you need to be aware of karma, that what you put out, you get back, but also that
Jeff always puts out.
but also that you have to have a little bit of edginess to you. I mean, if you're just a total
You gotta have backbone,
puss,
right?
then-
Yeah, I mean, have a backbone for sure. But like, so for example, at my work, bureaucracy reigns, and making changes can be hard. And there's definitely like a culture there that sometimes is an uphill battle. Uh, and you know, like there's some other people there that don't necessarily always they'll bend the rules or ignore some rules and things like that to just try to make life easier and get along and go along. Now I've never I don't know if I've been over a year at this job. I don't think I've ever really yelled at anybody or any really chewed anybody out. I try to ask people to do things instead of telling them to. Um, I try to treat myself as equal to everybody. But you know, there's definitely that, man, in the short term, this is kind of rough. But I think hopefully over the trajectory of a career, that stuff will stick out and go like, oh no, Corey's steady, always, you know, does the right thing even when it's not convenient, and
Yeah.
and that those qualities will help me prevail.
Yeah.
And I think that helps. And like that's a thing in like relationships too. You know what I mean?
I
Like-
try to be a leader that instead of going, you got to go do this, I go, come on, let's go do this.
And that's one of the problems I have with my current job because I'm not allowed to do that anymore.
Mm.
Right? Because the guys that I manage are union employees and I am a company employee. So I am not allowed to do the work.
Yeah.
Like they can literally file a grievance, and
Yeah.
which if they prove that I was doing an hourly guy's job, they automatically get 4 hours of pay for taking, you know, work away from them, food out of their mouths. That's the
Yeah.
way it works. So it's
Yeah.
kind of rough, you know.
Yeah.
But
Good points and bad points to unions.
yeah, on the plus side, I'm getting nice and cushy, and I don't carry anything heavier than a clipboard. So, you know, good things and bad things. Not as dirty as I used to be for sure. But yeah, Patty, leave that one go. Dougie Doug's out there hanging out with us tonight too. So we got a pretty good group. Oh, Uncle Artie's even here. He's check. We always tell. I always tell Uncle Artie.
I'm not getting
That
updates
you're-
as fast as you.
And
There
I
it
told you.
goes.
I told you. Uncle Artie, I tell him all the time that you're his future best friend. And he
Uncle
doesn't
Artie?
know it yet. You would have met him briefly at the cookout here. Shaved head,
Oh, yeah.
either white goatee or mustache.
Yeah. I talked to him for a little
So
while.
I tell him about you and be like, yo, this dude is like your best buddy you ain't really hung out with, because they have a pit bull. Uncle Artie drives a Jeep. They
Nice.
have many kayaks, hunting, fishing,
That's me.
hiking, all that kind of stuff. Absolutely. And I'm
That's
like, if you
100%
look
me.
at Jeff's Facebook, like 90% of the shit on his Facebook is like his
Pit bulls,
dog standing
Jeeps.
next to the Jeep in front of a waterfall in West Virginia somewhere. I'm like, you guys would be best buddies for sure. And you both smoke cigars, you know?
Yeah.
Absolutely. You guys need to hang out.
Yeah. Cool.
They're going on vacation with us in summer. And we were thinking, you know, maybe her mom and stepdad might come with us as well. And we're not real sure. Right now, it looks like it might just be them and us and our kids. And Shannon goes, oh, it'd be nice if we could find one more couple. I'm like, I don't know, man. I'm like, I think Jeff and Chris might be a great fit, you know, for this this group. Like Uncle Artie and him would get along super well. Chris drinks wine, does puzzles. Like you guys could be best buddies and shit. I'm like, it might fit in pretty good.
Yeah. Where are you guys going on this vacation?
So last year was the first year that I had a real schedule in over a decade, right? So I have like actual vacation time and a significant amount of it. And we know what our budget's going to be. So my wife likes to travel, but she likes to do activities, right? She doesn't want to go to like Paris. I mean, like maybe she wants to go to Ireland and stuff. But like
That's on my
she
bucket
always
list, too.
talks about like national parks that she wants to go to and stuff. So last Mother's Day, I told her, I says, next year, any national park in the country you want to go to, you pick it and we'll go. I'll plan the vacation. We'll go.
So what you pick?
She looked online and Googled, I think somewhere in the top 5. Acadia National Park in Maine is one of the top most dog friendly national parks in the country.
Nice.
And she wants to take Summer with us because
My
Summer's
daughter
5.
and son-in-law went there.
So it's in Maine. So it's like actually in the bay, like in the ocean almost. You know
Bay
what
or
I mean?
ocean? Is there a bay in Maine?
Yeah, I don't know. They say bay in all the descriptions, but the
Okay.
bay is just like it's still the ocean. It's salt water,
Yeah.
right?
It's salt water.
I mean,
It's like I grew up in Virginia, so I think of the Chesapeake Bay is definitely saltwater, but
Mhm.
it's not the ocean either.
Well, it's like an inlet, right? But it's where there's no wall dividing the ocean from the bay. The bay is just the part of the ocean that comes in.
Well, there's a land bridge in Virginia
Wow.
that separates.
I'm speaking in generalization.
Okay,
So
so that's where you're going, Arcadia.
Acadia National Park, yeah. So we got a pretty badass house, like 4-bedroom house, sleeps 8 people. And if you look at the topographical view, this is like the kind of place I always imagined living. It's all woods,
But
there's a perfect circular cutout with a house in the middle. And so there's a nice big deck on the back. And then there's just a little bit of a hill that goes down. And there's a nice fire pit out there, like a very, woodsy, outdoorsy fire pit. It's not fancy. Bunch of chairs around it. And then there's a path that leads down to the water.
That sounds awesome, but it's a place that I would only want to visit in the summer because only about 2 months out of the year would it be conducive to my type of living. I would not want to live in Maine.
No.
The rest of the year.
Hell no. We're going going at the end of June.
No way.
It'll be cooler there than it will be here.
We're doing two vacations this year. Our first one is in February.
Okay.
Cabo San Luca,
There you go.
Mexico.
Hell yeah. I hear the older folks like it down there.
The
New Mexicos.
No, I think Cabo is a pretty hopping place.
I wouldn't
That's
know.
where Cabo Wabo, the big Sammy Hagar distillery is for his tequila and where he sells his tequila.
That band that was really popular like 50 years ago.
Oh my God. You're busting my balls already.
Hey, I mean, you want to walk
anyway,
into it.
Cabo is a pretty happening place. We're going to go there in February. And then now you can really bust my balls in June. We're going back down to Virginia Beach where I grew up.
There you go.
For my high school reunion.
What number?
40th.
All right. Let's see. This is 2023. There won't be a reunion. And if there was, I wouldn't go. But it'll be my 20th.
Yeah.
Yeah.
83 is when I graduated.
2003.
Yeah.
I was born in 85.
Yeah. I was married, had 4 kids in the middle of my career.
4 kids?
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
Started young, sir. I thought I started young.
No, I didn't start that young. 25 is when I had my first. He's 30 now.
All right.
30, be 31.
Well, if you graduated in 83, you'd have been 18.
I got married when I was 24.
So you weren't married in 83.
No, I got married in 90.
85 was when I was born. That's all. You said when I was born, you were married to 4 kids. And I'm like, whoa, holy
No,
shit.
when you graduated.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And that makes more
When
sense.
you graduated, I was like cruising.
All right, let's go ahead and get to the cigar news. It's time for the cigar news, brought to you by Tom's Penworks. As a cigar smoker, you appreciate luxury. And as a premium cigar smoker, you appreciate handmade craftsmanship. And as a customer of Tom's Penworks, you'll appreciate the selection of custom-made, limited production items that you can show off to your friends. From handmade pens, pencils, bottle openers, cigar cases, and now custom rings, Tom will create something special for you or your loved one. Find him on the web at etsy.com/shop/Tom's Penworks. And as always, you can find the link in the description for this episode. Hell yeah, let's get to that news of the week. Davidoff has announced the return of former regular production cigar, the Davidoff Classic No. 1, as a limited edition. The cigar is being re-released in a limited production run and now be branded the Davidoff Signature No. 1. It's the same damn thing. I don't know why they repeated that information. The cigar is a 7.5 by 39 Panatella. That's probably why they retired it, because that is not a particularly popular size anymore, but I'd smoke it. Features an Ecuadorian Connecticut wrapper, an Ecuadorian hybrid 151 binder leaf, and Piloto San Vicente, and a hybrid 192 Seiko fillers from the Dominican Republic. Very specific. The cigars will be available in 10-count boxes with worldwide production of 15,000 boxes. Now, remember, this is Davidoff, kids. Do not expect a cheap date. Their regular production stuff easily hits $30 a stick. So, yeah, chances are this guy's going to be pricey. I didn't see a price, but so that raises an interesting question. I'm interested. Do you have a ring gauge preference or size preference that you gravitate toward?
So I've always been leaning towards a bigger ring gauge, a
Mhm.
little bit bigger size, just because in my mind I thought that if I'm going to spend $10 to $15 on a smoke, I would want to get a longer smoke out of it.
Sure.
But I heard a really interesting comment the other day online, one of the cigar groups I follow, that said that actually the smaller ring gauges, like the what's the smaller ring gauge?
Lancero?
Lanceros.
That's long and thin.
You actually get more body and flavor out of
The
that.
flavor, yeah. Now, a smaller ring gauge, you're probably not going to get the same amount of time on. You're going to get a
Right.
longer burn from a thicker cigar.
Right.
But if you think about it this way, typically the highest priming tobacco in the cigar is dead center in the Lajero and then on the outside in the wrapper. Okay. The wrapper is
Tell us what
typically.
Lajero means for all those who don't know.
All right.
I mean, I know.
Okay, the way they classify the different leaf groups on a tobacco plant is by primings. Okay, so what that means
Is
is
that when they take it off the
when
plant?
they remove it. Yeah, so they harvest the lowest priming first. So you have the Viso, Seco, and Lajero. Okay, so they take the lower priming off first. Okay, the Viso, and the Seco in the middle, and then the Lajero is on top.
And the Maduro is at the very top, right?
Well, it's not classified as a Maduro until it goes through that aging process.
Oh.
But if it's going to be a Maduro wrapper, chances are it's going to be at the top. So it's either going to be Lajero or higher. There's also a couple of small leaves at the top called the Corona or the Crown, right? It's usually 3 of them at the top of a plant. So what happens is they go from the bottom up. So the leaves toward the top of the plant stay on the longest. They get the most nutrients and the most sunlight, and they get bigger and thicker, right? Because they have more exposure. They're older. So that's why the stuff at the bottom has a tendency to be lighter. So the Lajero down the middle is generally like the wick of a candle, right? And that is what's going to set the pace for how the cigar burns. But a lot of people think, I touched this briefly just last week, so I'm not going to go too crazy. But essentially, when you're blending a cigar, it can't just be for flavor, because you can have 3 different tobaccos that taste amazing together. But if the center burns too fast or the outside burns too fast, you're going to have uneven burn, and it's not going to taste good either, right? Because if it's not burning all together, you're not getting the full recipe. You're getting, if you're having chocolate chip cookies, you're getting more flour or more baking powder or more sugar or more, chocolate chips, whatever it is. So they have to be blended in a way where the construction creates
Complements everything.
optimal burn.
Right.
And typically that is the biggest job of the binder, right? The binder holds the filler together before the wrapper is put on, but the binder is also usually what creates a balance between the wrapper burn speed and the filler burn speed. But you have to choose tobaccos that can bust well together, so that none of them's going too fast or too slow.
I'm all geeked up right now. That's freaking awesome.
So Ryan Seneca says his wheelhouse is 46 to 48 ring gauge, and I would say that that's probably my sweet spot too. Like, I'd prefer to stay away from anything over 52 these days. Like a 54 or 56 isn't going to bother me. A 60 is usually uncomfortable, but I don't want the tiniest thing you can give me either. Like, I'm not looking for a cigarillo. But what happens there is, because of the fact that wrapper leaf is generally on the plant longer, it's a higher priming than most of the other leaves. That means that it's got the most strength, right? And flavor. And so if you think about it in ratio, right, the bigger it is, the more filler to wrapper leaf ratio you have. So the smaller ring gauge, you're getting a bigger percentage of your wrapper versus the filler. It's
Right.
like a pizza. If you think about it, on a small pizza, you got a much
more
bigger
crust.
percentage of crust. If you get a huge pizza, it's kind of the same way. So the smaller the ring gauge is, the more that wrapper is going to stand out.
Right.
It's
Got
kind
it.
of how it all boils down.
That's fascinating.
Number 2 on the list, price increases have been announced for Drew Estate and Espinosa. Just like everything else in life, cigars are unfortunately getting more expensive. Nobody tell my wife. And I didn't go into
She's
exact details. If you guys are interested, you can probably easily find that with a Google search. And then number 3, and finally, this one interested me quite a bit. J.C. Newman Cigar Company has released the 2023 edition of the Jose Gasper cigars. This annual cigar line that is named for the famed pirate that would become the inspiration for the city of Tampa's annual Gasparilla Festival. The series has made its The series first had its debut in 2022, and Jose Gasper was a pirate who terrorized the waters of the Gulf Coast of Florida. Gasper eventually was killed in an attempt at seizing a U.S. Navy warship in disguise. Since his death, many stories of Gasper became part of the Tampa Bay area's folklore. This led to
Hence
the
the Buccaneers.
creation, hell yeah, of the Gasparilla Festival in 1904, which is now a Tampa Bay tradition. The Jose Gasper 2023 features an Ecuadorian Connecticut wrapper over an undisclosed blend. The cigar comes in one size, a 6x54 Toro, very popular the last year or so. The blend and size of the 2023 edition are different than the 2022. And the Jose Gaspar will be sold in 5-packs with an MSRP of $40.
Whew.
Yeah. It's a 5-pack. It's $8 a stick.
Oh, okay.
That's actually a good price.
I missed the
really.
5 part.
That's all right. Whenever Sam's talking, I hear nothing. The cigar is pretty
Trying to
much a
listen.
regional release for Tampa and will be available at select retailers. So call your friends in the Tampa Bay area to secure yours and save one for me while you're at it. So that's interesting. I actually might. I probably won't, but I'm interested enough that if I remembered, I might do some research on that particular pirate individual later because it sounds quite fascinating.
I love a cool story.
That's what cigars are.
Yeah, I love
Right,
it. That's why I
like-
love them.
There's a story behind every family and every cigar and every blend if you can dig for it.
Yeah.
And that's one of the huge things. There's so much to it. The presentation, the packaging, the bands, the aroma, the taste.
The bands are
this-
what actually got me interested. That was like the first eye-catching part of me wanting to try a cigar.
Do tell.
Is the band. If
Hell
the
yeah.
band was cool looking, I was like, I gotta try that. The band is badass looking. That's why I love the Black Label stuff.
It's why Gurkha has done so well for so long, right?
I stayed away from Gurkhas because everything I read about them, they're so up and down. There's so many people that have bad experiences with Gurkhas.
For sure. And here's the thing. So back in the day, Gurkha was a good cigar. Like in general, it was a really good cigar. They kind of took things in 2 different directions. They made some very affordable cigars with packaging that was just incredible. Didn't put as much effort, I don't think, into the cigars as they do the packaging. In terms of, when you talk about the construction, so many that I've had have been overfilled and don't draw well.
So they probably had somebody in their marketing department that was not a cigar smoker.
Well, no, the problem is that Gurkha had a tendency over the years to do a ridiculous amount of cigars at other factories. So like there's a bunch of different factories that make cigars for Gurkha, right? All over the place. They don't, it's not like
Oh, I didn't know that.
Aladino where all of the cigars are made at their factory. Like they have different places make cigars for them. And so depending on the quality of tobacco, the place that's making it and all that stuff, it could be decent or bad. And they do more effort in the eye-catching.
Drew Estate's kind of in that same wheelhouse.
Yeah, but I think Drew, they work with a couple of different people, right? And but they have a tendency to do a lot of stuff themselves as well. Whereas Gurkha, I don't think so much does. Now they did at one time have the most expensive cigar in the world, which is what Bill Clinton would smoke, Her Majesty's Reserve. And I think they have more expensive now, but they had like $400 a stick or something like that. It was just absurd. It was like dipped in some kind of pricey cognac, you know. But there were more about the
He wasn't satisfied
image.
with that though.
No, he wasn't.
He had to take that up.
He had to add some
notch.
flavor, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. The Lewinsky. But yeah, man, like, so Gurkha focuses so much on like let's attract their attention by eye. And that gets a lot of new cigar smokers that don't really know what's out there. They don't know one thing from another. And so a lot of the people, especially if you get in online, which is where Gurkhas are more prevalent, have a tendency to end up in that trap, right? Of going like, oh, these are really pretty. The box is really cool. This is really exciting and interesting. This is what I'm going to smoke. Not understanding like that that's not necessarily the quality of other stuff out there is much better, and sometimes at a much more reasonable price as well. So, it is what it is. It's just like anything else. You have to kind of try around and see what you like. And there's a lot of people that still love Gurkhas 10, 20 years into their cigar smoking experience. There's something for everybody. Whatever you like is what you like. There's no wrong answer. But I think that in terms of quality, there's people doing a lot better and with, the right intentions.
All right.
So you now have the Macallan
12.
Okay. Earlier we were drinking a Hibiki Suntory, which is a Japanese scotch. You seem to be a big fan of it.
Yeah, I think I'd like it even better than the Macallan 12.
Okay.
The Macallan 12 is good.
You got me letting my cigar go out.
Yeah, mine did
Talking
too.
too much.
I'm trying to keep it going. That's one thing that about cigars. I say this all the time. If I have to fight a cigar, I don't enjoy it as much.
Okay.
If it stays burning nice and it's got a good, a good burn to it, and I don't have to keep constantly relighting it, I enjoy it way more.
Well, they have a tendency, like the better quality cigars will have a tendency to continue burning. That is not always necessarily the case, but a good cigar, you could put it down for a little bit. If it has some age on it, it will keep burning for you, which is obviously a good thing to a lot of people. But yeah.
So Seth is saying that those Japanese whiskeys are going to be in a short supply here pretty soon for some reason.
Seems like everything's in a short supply, and the things that
Probably because of COVID, right?
If the things that aren't, like everybody is claiming that they are, just with the intention of going like, hey,
Yeah, we're going to increase our price.
Right,
Short
exactly.
supply.
Right, like, oh yeah, everybody's got we got a short supply too. So it's just one of those things. It seems to be the way that everything is going, and who knows what you can believe and what you can't believe, but that's definitely seems to be the trend, is what I'll say. So, all right. Tell us a little bit about the stuff you like outside of cigars. Because me and Sam, we talked about maybe 25%, right? And we talked a little bit about your work. But where are you musically, movies, other hobbies? Obviously, we know you're an outdoor guy.
Yeah, I love outdoor stuff. I'm a big gym guy. I'm kind of a little bit of a gym rat.
Jim who?
Yeah, him too.
All right. I thought you might have meant this gym.
No, I'm into fitness. Fitness. Macallan 12 into my mouth and a cigar.
Not much of a challenge.
But yeah, when I was younger, when I graduated high school, a couple years after I graduated high school, I went in the Air Force, and I was a firefighter.
That's
and
cool. Thank you for your service.
You're welcome. And during those times, I was, pretty physically active. Spent a lot of time in the gym. And then when I got out of the service and got a job in sales with heavy equipment stuff, I kind of got away from it and got a lot of excess baggage, around the midsection. And
I got a little bit of that. And
decided to finally at 47 to get back into it. So about 11 or 12 years now, I've been really heavy back into the gym and working out and lifting weights. And so I spent a lot of time there. Did you see my post recently about the infrared sauna that I just got?
I did.
Dude.
I don't know if I can relate to that. I've never felt like, man, I need to sit in a box and just sweat.
It is awesome.
That sounds terrible.
No, it's fantastic. I did it right before the show. I feel so great.
Okay. So why? Why is that good? What's the appeal of that?
I like a little bit of the suffer, I think it's good to put yourself in a spot sometimes where you're grinding,
Okay.
That's why I like the gym you know, as much as I do, because it's my time to grind. It's my time to get in there and be in a little bit of discomfort. And have you ever read anything by Goggins, David Goggins? Do you know who he is?
Now, you're going to be very disappointed in my reading history. I have read some books. They primarily focus on two categories. The first one is probably the obvious one for anybody that knows me, Star Wars novels.
Right.
Probably 30 or 40 of those I've read.
Wow. That's impressive.
It's really not. And then the rest of them are kind of divvied up between books that are like Tom Clancy-esque. Never read anything Tom Clancy, but Tom Clancy-esque, and then Anne Rice.
Nice.
Stephen King too. Some Stephen King stuff in there.
What are you talking about?
But like, there is no, like, it's all fiction or not.
It's
you
okay.
know, like there's, I don't ever read nonfiction.
Lately I've been reading a lot of nonfiction, and I need to clarify, because of my job and I'm working a lot of hours and being pretty busy. I've in the last couple of years switched over to the Audible app.
Yeah.
So
you know what's better than that is listening to our podcast, though. You know.
Yeah.
When's the last time that one of your favorite authors invited you to come read the book with them?
That
You
is
know what I
true.
mean?
It's
It's a lesson for all of you junkies out there. You too, one day, could be on this show. Like anybody out there listening to
I am not worthy.
Joe Rogan or
I listen to Joe
the
Rogan
Cigar
a lot.
Authority, like you're never going to be on that show, but you could be in this one.
Right.
You know, like,
Absolutely.
did you when we first met and started talking about the show, you started listening? Do you ever think, oh yeah, someday I'm going to be sitting there
No.
in the microphone? Right?
No, as a matter of fact, when you asked me, I was like, are you out of your freaking mind? Why would you want me to be on this show? I don't know hardly anything about cigars. And when I do listen to your show, you and Sam have this great little rapport going back and forth with all these movie references and the little buttons that you push of all these.
Oh, that one doesn't work right now.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm sorry. I understood that reference. No, I had to move some things to create some storage on the laptop, so I have to kind of rebuild some pathways there. More work than people think it is. That's all.
yeah.
So I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So where
So
was
now
I?
you're here. So you were a little bit maybe intimidated by the fact that Sam and I seem to have good chemistry, and you didn't know about coming in.
Yeah.
And how you feel now?
Feel good.
I think a lot of people that even people that have podcast experience, like they think they're going to come in and it's going to be this structured, production. It's not a production.
No.
We hit a couple of buttons. Like every once in a while, we try to space things out, put our tent poles in there so we don't get too far off track. But it's just conversations, right?
Well, it is very Rogan-esque.
casual.
I mean, you know, Rogan talks all the time about the success of his podcast is just accidental. It's just him and his buddies cutting up and being fools, you know? And so, you know, a couple people told me, don't worry about it. Just cut up and be a fool.
So for me, it was like for me and Sam, the way that we look at this show is just like this show should essentially be, other than the tent poles and like the kind of stuff that you have to do to provide the structure, it should feel like a conversation that you could have with anybody if you went and sat down in the Leaning House.
And we
just
always have
started
good
talking.
conversations.
That's the point, right?
Every time we get together,
Some
we
of
always
the coolest conversations I've
time.
ever had in my life have just been with somebody that I sat down next to at the cigar shop.
Yeah.
And was like, hey, who are you? Like,
Yeah.
Here's who I am. Here's who you are. What do we got in common? What do we disagree about?
And the Leaning House is it's so conducive to that. You
For
know,
sure.
The first time I ever walked in there, did I tell you how I found the Leaning House?
No, please do.
It's kind of an interesting little story. So my cousin, Dave Black, who lives in Baltimore, Maryland, is a big time cigar smoker, has been for years and years and years. And we had a relative that passed away, and he came into town and came to the funeral. And while he was here, he said, do you know where the Leaning House cigar shop is? And I said, I think it's like just a couple miles down the road from where I live. And I said, why do you ask? And he goes, I buy cigars there. I buy cigars online off of the owner, and I'd like to visit him and just say hello.
Oh, cool.
So we walked in and never been in the place before. And I thought to myself, what a freaking cool ass joint is this?
Hell
And it's
yeah.
only a couple miles up from my house. So that got me hooked. And then when you walked in, everybody was so laid back and friendly and cool that I was like, this is a really homey little
Oh
spot.
yeah, the people that notice that you're there are going to be very nice to you. And just be
Love
like, hey
that
man, how's it
place.
going?
Yeah.
You know, but then you got like your friends that are just going to sit there in their phone or their laptop or watching their TV show, and eventually they'll look
Fred's
up and
always
note.
very friendly to me.
But like if you walk in there, chances are dude isn't even going to know you're there. Like he's just doing his thing, hanging out. You know what I mean? Like he could be in his living room at home almost. You know,
Yeah.
just you're a fly in the wall.
Yeah.
And that's usually the two different kinds of people that you encounter at a cigar shop is the kind of people that are just chilling there and like, hey, you're doing your thing and I'm doing my thing. Or then you get the people like me that are mouthy that just want to fucking talk everything to death and like I'm gonna engage you and figure out what we got in common and stuff and like what you like and let's talk about it.
Well,
and
the
shit.
deck is a big advantage to that place too. Because I'm a huge fan of live music.
Yeah, the only downside of the deck is like half of the conversation you're yelling, right? Or you're taking away from the live music, but it's so cool. It's so different.
Yeah.
I talk about it all the time. Like I wrote that commercial in one take for the Leaning House Cigar of the Week, and it really is like
You're home
the
away from
most
home.
unique and intimate music venue I've ever been to.
Yeah.
There's nothing else like it.
Plus, when the music is over, the party doesn't end.
Oh no.
I mean,
If you're
how
in the
many times
circle,
have we hung out and
oh,
to
yeah,
the wee hours of the morning?
for sure.
You know?
And I like to think I'm in that circle, but generally speaking, like I have to get home and it's a little further of a drive for me than a lot of other folks. And I'm also being counted on to be the designated driver to get us home.
Yeah.
So sometimes it'll be late, sometimes not as late as some other people. I don't close up as often as some of the other people, but it's really cool because you're sitting up there and there's maybe 10 tables, maybe 30 people for like a really packed night. But the music is in your face no matter where you are. You're sitting next to somebody cool no matter where you are. And then when everything wraps up, it's like, oh no, it's all kind of condensed.
Pull our
into
chairs
a
closer
place.
together and
Yeah.
hang out.
And you know what? One of my favorite things that has happened out of there, hate as I do to give Earl Serene credit for anything, has been the Leaning House amateur karaoke under
That's
the deck.
super fun.
Oh,
isn't
dude,
it?
have we had some
Oh
like
my
good times? Because
God.
it's like we're all fucking buddies.
Yeah.
You know, it's like karaoke night, but you're all fucking buddies,
Yeah.
and everyone just passing
Nobody's judging.
microphones around.
There's people that have a little bit of a, vocally challenged. They probably would get criticism from Simon Cowell. And there's
Oh,
others like
man.
you have a great voice and who can really nail it,
Well, the thing that's cool about it's like if life was a movie, right? Like that would definitely be one of the places with the 80s montages. Like we've even had some scenes out of the 80s montages and shit, like fucking Top Gun. The
Yeah.
Top Gun singing in the bar scene with all the fucking boys doing
Yeah,
the
the
ba-doop,
Righteous Brothers song.
ba-doop, ba-doop. Yeah, dude, really good time. Really fucking good time.
Yeah, I love that place.
Yeah, so well that's cool, man. It's always funny how happenstance relationships or a connection to the cigar world is formed, right? Like we talk that to death, but me and Sam, everyone assumes we've been best friends our whole fucking life.
Yeah, you haven't.
Sam and I met right before doing this,
Right?
and even now, like we talk less now than we did at the start of the show because hey, what do you want to do? We'd have these little short conversations. Now we talk once or twice a week, and it's 5 minutes maybe because Sam's fucking killing himself trying to open his
can't wait
dream
until
of
the
getting
shop
the
opens.
shop, right? And I actually can't wait until the shop is open because it's going to be like the first time for us to like just be chill and hang out together.
Yeah, I'm super
Like when
stoked.
it's time for, okay, like all the work's done for the night and he's just going to sit and have a cigar with who's left. And it's like, hey man, let's just chill out. And we do get that sometimes after the show here. That is like, other than what you guys see or hear, that is our primary like time of hanging out together in terms of our overall relationship. Is just like, oh, I don't have to run off tonight or I don't have to get up early tomorrow. So like my wife will come down at that point and we'll just hang out and smoke and fucking talk and yell at each other and argue about shit. And And that's what's so cool, man, because it's like, dude, this little fucking thing in my hand that we're gonna light on fire. We're spending $10 on something that, well, in this case, we're not. Thank you, Dave. Um, like we're gonna burn this up, and this is gonna be gone tomorrow. But the conversation that you had with the person sitting next to you might live on in your memory forever. You might be like, that one fucking time.
Yeah.
And that's happened so many times to me. There's this guy named Chuck at the Leaf and Bean in McMurray.
Bye, Patty.
Patty's gonna go.
Patty and them have just arrived at the stack for their bourbon smoking night.
So this guy, this old heavyweight guy, like wearing the veteran shirt, veteran hat, and it's like, okay, you talk to him a little bit, find out he used to be a cop. He's like a rough dude. Like some of these guys, you go in and you think a cigar shop's got some like people to one edge or the other of like politics. Go into a cigar shop at 6 o'clock in the morning before they're even open, when the guys that have the keys to go in and just watch Clint Eastwood movies or the news and sit there and yell at the TV and shit.
That's way better than hanging out at McDonald's at 6 o'clock in the morning. Have you ever been in a McDonald's and see the old man club?
It's almost the same club. It's just somewhere cooler to hang out.
I cannot imagine
but
that.
Like this guy, I'd sit there and talk to him. He's just such a nice guy, man. Like he could be gruff and shit, but like he was just so nice and friendly to me. And you just hear stories about shit whenever, like, oh, back in my day kind of stuff. He says the one time when he was young, they were at Thanksgiving at their grandmother's house. They're all sitting around the table. And he says, my grandpap, man, he says he knew how to just de-escalate things. He says, I looked over at my grandmother and said, hey, could you pass the fucking turkey? And she said, pass the what? And like, was like mad, And like, there was like this pin drop moment where it was like, okay, is who's going to F up? Who's going to say something else, And like grandpap just interjects and go, can we just agree to pass whatever kind of turkey it is and be thankful for being all here together? Like he was just diplomatic and like just kind of cut through it. And that's like a stupid little conversation that I'll remember the rest of my life, interacting with this guy that I developed such respect for. Yeah. You know what I mean? And like the respect that he had for his grandfather and that generation. And like, man, where else do you get that? Where you're like, oh no, like this is something that I'm going to be interested in and like, hang out and spend some free time. And you're learning about people, and that's what's really cool to me, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
So
I think Ryan
Seneca
now knows who I am.
There you go.
From karaoke.
Damn right.
Karaoke night.
Hell yeah. That was actually my first real experience to talk to Ryan kind of one-on-one in person. I knew who he was from the Pittsburgh Cigar Club and stuff. And we talked a little bit there. And then he starts popping up in the live chat. And we're grateful for having him. He got the participation trophy of the week last week.
Yeah.
So we should be calling
Ryan
him.
Comes to the thing, I definitely want to meet up with him and spend some more time talking to him.
But we need to refer to him as Golden Grasshopper winning Ryan Seneca.
Golden Grasshopper.
Because that's on his resume,
Ah.
So this usually happens way earlier in the show. But for the background of the cigar, if you did not know, the Leaf by Oscar brand actually started out life as a true boutique cigar. So there's like a lot of argument over what that means. But a boutique is generally a store, right? This cigar was commissioned for the Leaf and Bean in the Strip District of Pittsburgh. So I was just talking about the one in McMurray. There's a loose affiliation, but two different ownerships. Like it's not a partnership or anything. But the Leaf and Bean in the Strip District for the iconic Jim Robinson. This may be the most eccentrically recognizable figure in the cigar world. If I was forced to describe Jim in 2 words, it would be Australian Santa.
Definitely.
Have you ever seen Jim?
I have. I've been to that store. Been to that boutique.
With his platinum curly hair, straw hat, and signature yellow sunglasses, Jim is certainly a character. And his shop in the heart of Pittsburgh is no different. Whether you're looking for coffee, cigars, or live music, Leaf and Bean has the island vibes that you crave. So actually, he had started working with 3 or 4 different cigar makers when he come out and said, hey, I want to do a house blend for the Leaf and Bean. So there's like the Leaf by Oscar. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. There's a couple other companies out there too. The Island Gym, Leaf by Esteban. But he basically, what I respect is he walked up to all these guys and said, "You're the expert. Make what you want. You know, just make me what you think your best showing is, and that's what we're going to use." And this is one example of that. And this is definitely always in my regular rotation. It's so cool, not only because the cigar fits my flavor profile on what I really enjoy, but also the fact that you know that like you're supporting a guy that's local to Pittsburgh. Island Jim's another dude that you would get along with. He's got a few Jeeps. The short buses, I think he calls them. Usually they're yellow. His newest one's black. It's a Jeep Gladiator pickup.
Nice.
And he's got one of those super cool campers that like the off-road camper that you could just go out in the middle of the wilderness with,
Like
and
an
like
off
set
the
up.
grid camper.
Yeah, like the pop-up tent camper with like, you know, the bare minimums, but it's still pretty badass, like really expensive shits.
Yeah.
Dude, and I've seen pictures of him like just posted up in the desert in the middle of nowhere, just overlooking some big cool rock
What if he goes
formation.
to Moab? He probably takes it to Moab.
You have to ask him.
Yeah, Moab is the Jeep Mecca. That's where everybody goes whenever you really get into it. You go out to Utah.
It's funny because I don't think I've actually had a conversation with Jim, and the people that know him best tell me that like he's actually pretty quiet. He's not like he just, his personality doesn't really fit the appearance because he looks like he would be
Eccentric.
a loud partying motherfucker, right?
Mm-hmm.
But supposedly you get him opened up. I think Heineken's his drink of choice. It's all just feed him Heineken and he'll loosen up and he'll be a great time.
Cool.
But Island Jim Robinson, very cool dude. Love this cigar. Awesome to be smoking local. So I know we're both kind of setting it down and like getting to the point where serving back and forth and talking for a long time. But now that you're about halfway in, I'd be interested to know what your thoughts are from the perspective of like, you know, somebody that generally smokes mild stuff, hasn't had it before.
So I was actually, in the back of my mind, I was thinking about that because I thought that you might ask me that. And in all honesty, it is getting a little bit creamier in its taste as it mellows out and gets a little, you know, as it pulls through.
Develops.
And, what's that?
As it develops.
As it develops. Yeah. No, I'm loving this smoke. It's great smoke.
And I think that if you were to pick that cigar, leaf aside on the outside, right? If you were to see this sitting in this form,
I've had to light it 4 times.
well, you're a cigar like this, like a Maduro cigar with a thicker wrapper, is because it's thicker and it's not brittle, like it's not going to burn by itself. But if we were hanging out in a cigar lounge and you didn't have a microphone in your face, you probably wouldn't have the struggle that you do right now. Or if you let it sit and dry out a little bit before you smoked it. Like I smoke this all the time. I very rarely have to relight it, but when you're in a situation where you're expected to talk constantly and not allow there to be any dead air, that happens way more often. You know what I mean? So try not to judge it on that, because I can tell you from personal experience that is not usually an issue. But it is, I feel like if you'd looked at this cigar, you might be a little intimidated, right? You might look at that and think, oh, that's going to be a little strong for me.
Once I unwrapped it, yeah, I would have thought that. But I love that outer leaf wrapper.
Oh yeah, it draws your attention, right?
Yeah,
it stands out.
I think it's super cool
For sure.
and I like the unique. So I would have been drawn to it if I seen it in its wrapped up form like that. When I've only been into the Leaf and Bean one time, and it was while we were at the St. Patrick's Day parade. I've been in a St. Patrick's Day parade a few times.
Okay.
The last couple times was with our Jeep club. Our Jeeps were in it, and while we were in the staging area, we were staged down to Strip District right by the Leaf and Bean. So we went in, grabbed a couple cigars, and I smoked the Island Gym, one of the Island Gym ones, not this one.
Yeah.
But it was a little bit lighter one, and it had the natural leaf wrapper on it, like that. And I was like, oh yeah, I got to try that. So
Well, there are, like I said, there are 3 other cigars in this line. The Sumatra, which I hear incredible things about all the time from people.
I like Sumatra coffee.
And there's a Connecticut Shade, and there's a Corojo, and the Maduro. So Maduro, Sumatra, Connecticut, and Corojo. And honestly,
It
like,
was Connecticut. That's
there's a lot of people. Well, that you smoked an Island Jim, that's different.
oh, okay.
So, but like you hear from people like, oh no, yeah, I love the Leaf by Oscar, this one, or this one, or this one. And it's all over the place. So like they're great across the board. So if you have a particular wrapper that you like better than others, chances are that you're gonna like one of the Leaf by Oscar series.
Yeah.
Which is cool, because you do have cigars that sometimes shine with one wrapper but not another, right? And I think it's great that you have a blend that no matter what the wrapper is, you could say, oh, you like Connecticut? Try this. You're going to love it. You like Maduro? Try this. You're going to enjoy it. Or even somebody that you look and go, like you say, oh, no, I like shade. I like milder stuff. Like you might think this is going to be intimidating, but it's the right kind of Maduro. It's not blended to be strong. The wrapper is well aged, and it's got a really nice full taste to it, but it's not punch in the fucking chest.
Exactly.
You ever have a
Right.
cigar that made you feel tight in the chest and
The
made you
Christoph.
sweat and stuff?
Yeah, that pissed off Christoph.
So there is actually a trick for that too. What you can do is you can put sugar, get something sweet, candy bar, soda, or just take a packet of sugar if that's all you have access to, pour it underneath your tongue. Because what happens is the nicotine release that you're getting from smoking a cigar like convinces your body that you have like an unbalanced sugar situation where your blood sugar is too low, and like you'll get that lightheaded, queasy pressure and stuff like that. But if you do intake some sugar into your system pretty quick, it'll roll over and go away.
There's only been twice that's happened. I was a cigarette smoker for a long time, and I was actually
Me too.
I was actually kind of fearful to get into cigars because I didn't want my nicotine
You didn't want to go
habit.
back.
No, man, I smoked cigarettes for 20 years, and when I finally kicked them,
I do it every time.
when I finally kicked those cigarettes, I was like, I'm super glad I'm fucking done with this. And when I started getting interested in cigars, I was a little worried about that.
Okay.
But I've been smoking cigars now for 5 or 6, 7 years, and never once had a desire to go back to cigarettes.
Well, that's good. Me too.
And I don't get real lightheaded, I think, because I'm used to the nicotine. So there's only been that 2 times. That once was that Christoph pissed off, and then I smoked a Black Label that was really strong, and it got me pretty lightheaded.
Yeah, I was worried too, but I've like committed to the idea of I am never going to inhale nicotine ever again.
Yeah,
I don't want to ever inhale anything again.
Nah.
Right?
Well-
But that was never for me anyway. But like vape, like won't do it. I'm not inhaling anything.
Yeah.
Like it is a slope that I have no interest in going down, So, and to each their own. I got no problem with you if you smoke, if you do some extracurricular herbal
I don't do
activities,
any of
any
that.
stuff like that. But like for me, there was a little bit of a concern there, but I will absolutely never go back.
Yeah.
And I've been smoking cigars almost as long as I smoked cigarettes before I quit. I think I smoked cigarettes for like 13 years, and I quit in 2011. And I pretty much picked up cigar smoking slowly at that point. And then it was a couple years later, like a year or 2 later, that I really like went head on into it.
You transitioned from cigarettes into cigars?
I was smoking cigarettes and cigars at the same time, but not a lot of cigars. And I just quit smoking cigarettes for like 6 months. I was a little scared to have a cigar. I had one anyway. And then it became like, something I do every couple months. And then it pretty quickly became, weekly. And now, I smoke a couple a day. But
Yeah,
that's
I'm
just
not I don't want to get to that point. I like being a social smoker. I like smoking
it's my personality.
on occasion.
You know what I mean? And it's not because of the cigars so much as it was like, oh, I really like everything about this. And it was just this deep dive that I took, that I always said, like, I wish that I could have been this interested in anything that would have been productive to my life. Like almost anything else, if I would have developed the interest that I have for cigars, like I could have been wealthy. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
with that drive to learn about something. So it's like kind of sucks that it's like, oh yeah, no, this is never going to be something that is going to be conducive to a career. The most I've gotten out of it so far is doing this podcast. And although I do get the free cigar, weekly or even occasionally beyond that, thanks to
Yeah, you've
very
gotten some nice care
generous people
packages.
that I've met. Oh yeah, absolutely. Seth Jones,
Yeah.
Chichingo and Patty, awesome for that stuff. Very fucking cool. Met some really cool people that have been generous and given stuff or donated things to the show. But honestly, like, in terms of a monetary situation, like this, it still costs me more than I've, get
Yeah.
out of it. Like there is no income generated from this,
Right.
right? Like all it is the, oh, wouldn't it be cool if we got this for
Yeah.
the show? Or wouldn't it be cool if we did that for the show? Like there's no money coming in that like pays the bills. It is still a labor of love. And every time it grows out of somebody's pocket.
It's still early. It may turn into that.
It's so crazy too, because like we were talking about that as well as some of the technical difficulties we've run into from the growth of the show. But it really has been like this huge thing that if you've ever followed another podcast or something, like the amount of growth that they go through over a period of time, like we went from audio to audio and video to audio with 2 videos and audio, and the video would go out live.
Yeah.
And then sound, like more sound effects and like other doing virtual shows and all of that stuff. Like if you consider the fact that we're really actually right now, this week or next week is pretty much the 1-year anniversary of the show. So to consider where we've grown to in that short period of time, like it's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
And like we don't have huge numbers or anything, but that's something that you can kind of only get with, you don't know if it's going to come or not. It snowballs if it does, right? It's
Right.
like, you get enough people out there that start to kind of put word of mouth out, or you get enough views or listens that then it becomes a recommendation to people without anybody having to say something about it,
Yeah. I think it
So-
has to be natural, man.
For
It
sure.
can't be manufactured. If you're trying to manufacture views and trying to manufacture this, this thing that you got, it's going to come across as fake or phony or not as genuine.
For sure. It'll sound like one of my commercials. Sam still hates that. I don't know. I think he actually loves, though. He like has a love-hate relationship with the Tom's Penworks music. And I think I'm going to ultimately, though, I will have to change the music for the Just the Tip commercial, but I got time to work on that. In the interim, let's talk about the unsponsored segment of the show, the events. So if you're sitting there at home and thinking, man, this segment really needs a sponsorship. Like I want to hear another one of Corey's commercials. Contact me on Facebook or hit me up at thecigarjunkies@gmail.com and we can discuss how you can have your very own segment on the Cigar Junkies podcast. Wednesday, January 18th, we have January Cigar Night. Food, cigars, craft beers, and libations at DeSalvo Station Restaurant in Latrobe. Get together with friends, enjoy food, hand-rolled cigars, craft beers, libations from All Saints Brewery and Disobedient Spirits Distillery. $20 a person will get you into that event. Actually, I was really interested in this one, and I was kind of disappointed when I looked at my work schedule. That's going to be my afternoon shifts is next week.
Bummer.
Because I was actually thinking my buddy that does the leather work that's working on my bag right now, Ian, lives in Latrobe, and I was going to hit him up and be like, yo, man, we should go like meet up and hang out and check this place out together. But unfortunately, I won't be able to make it, but it sounds super cool. If I was available, I'd
That's such a
definitely
cool
go.
little town too. Latrobe.
Oh, yeah.
Really pretty
You
out
just
there.
like it because of the Stillers. Wednesday, January 25th, Cigarro Monte Cristo Lincoln Memorial Humidor Reveal. That's a mouthful. This is going to be at Cigarro in Hubbard, Ohio, from 7 to 9 p.m. All attendees are entered to win a door prize, which is a wooden humidor with Monte Cristo cigars, and all attendees will receive a house cigar to enjoy. The last one that I forgot to put the bullet point on for some reason is Saturday, February 4th, my birthday. You can't go to this event because you have commitment.
I do.
Oh, yeah. This is going to be at Nelson Laguasto's Cigars in Greensburg. Don Kiki and Karen Berger Cigars event. The event is part of their 10th anniversary from 2013 to 2023 series of events. And join them on Saturday, February 4th, and meet Bruce Bush, rep for Karen Berger Cigars, and Don Kiki Cigars. Cost is going to be $33.98 a person, plus sales tax, which includes 8 cigars and a raffle ticket where you can win fabulous, fabulous prizes.
Fabulous.
I do enjoy a cigar event. I wish that I had the opportunity to enjoy more of them. But, man, it's cool, especially when it's like a real event, when it's not just a rep that comes out and goes like, hey, 5% off or 10% off our brand or whatever. Like when you do it around an activity or the idea of winning a raffle or launching something new, I think those are badass and I really enjoy them.
Yeah.
How about you? Have you attended many?
I have not. I've only been to
Probably Blackworks.
3 or 4 cigar shops in my whole life. I mean, when you have the Leaning House 2 miles away, there's not.
You know what's interesting is I love Leaning House. I really do. But it's far away from me, so I don't get there
Yeah,
often.
for me, it's like right down the road.
Right. And I have a lot of options around here. But like, it'll be interesting sometime for us to do like a tour and like go check out a few shops because you'll find that you might walk in the Leaning House and they go, okay, this is a cigar shop. This is like the quintessential experience of a cigar shop. And in a lot of ways it is. But that vibe that you feel when you walk in there might be very different from a lot of other ones. They all have their cool kind of situational experiences, but they're also so unique. Like you walk in and get a different feel at every place. Like there's commonalities, right? And there's, I think, a comfort to them of like knowing that no matter what, you're going to have something to talk about. But it's crazy how much diversity there is.
What's your thoughts on like the bougie places, like the Burns and the
First
there's
of all,
a place down in Pittsburgh. I think it's called like
Blend.
Cipianos or something like that.
Chipinos.
Is that it?
Yeah, CIO. Chipinos.
Chipinos.
Chipino Steakhouse, and they have a cigar bar there.
So me
That place is
and John,
badass.
I've been there. So me and my buddy John Curcio, who you know, and another guy that I'm good friends with, Doug Hoover. Shout out to Doug at Cal
John,
U.
he's one of the karaoke attendees, isn't he?
Curcio?
Yeah.
Yeah. John and Marcy, they come to
Yes.
all of the events.
I couldn't think of Marcy's name, but we always enjoy hanging out with her.
Good friends.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And we went to Chipino's, is that it? And had a fantastic dinner.
Oh, their food is incredible.
Oh my God. Phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
Great drinks. That was the first time I ever had the Jefferson Ocean Voyage.
Okay.
That's a really cool bourbon, if you've ever had that. They put that bourbon for its last 6 months on a ship out at sea.
That's dope.
And let the salt air,
Hell yeah, dude.
penetrate into the barrels, and it gives it a really cool finish. And then each bottle, you can see where that ship
It's gotta
went.
be your that should be your retirement job, dude.
Fuck yeah.
Just be the fucking captain of the ship, like rolling around, like
I'd be a deckhand.
You could
I'd
be
take
you
it.
could be the HSE rep to make
Yeah.
sure everybody stays safe.
Yeah,
You
wear
know what I
your-
mean?
Put your life
But,
vest
like,
on.
it's right.
Yeah.
And just like cruise around in the sea and let that bourbon age. That'd be a good job for you.
But we went there and had a great dinner and a few great drinks. Then went into the cigar lounge and had a couple nice cigars. And that was cool. We got a little bit dressed up for that occasion. But I want to go to Bern. I know a lot of people have, Bern is one of those places that's kind of polarizing. There's people that, think it's way too bougie, and then there's other people that dig it. I think I would dig it.
Okay.
But
So here's the thing about Bern. I haven't been to the original, which is in Tampa. My dad lives close there and has been there a few times. That place was created with the idea of being like an upscale dance spot. Like to you go out to a nice dinner at a place like Chipino, and you and your lady are dressed up nice, and you go to a place where you can have cocktails, enjoy a cigar, and like dance.
Oh, that's cool.
You know, like a classy joint.
Yeah.
I think Burn's okay, but I don't think the Pittsburgh version of it holds up nearly as well to the original idea.
Well, they
as the one in
have.
Tampa.
Is it a nightclub as well, or is it more just of a cigar
It's
hangout?
kind of like, you know, you could do what you want. You know,
I mean, do they have music and a dance floor?
I think they do, but I don't know if they attack it the same way as the one that
Tampa does.
I'm talking about. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the other thing is we have Blend, which is ideal, kind of the same thing. And I think Blend is a better representation in Pittsburgh of like an upscale cigar place. But I've been to the one in Indianapolis. Like I found it on accident when I was Googling cigar shops on my way on a drive to North Dakota when I was in the oil field. And that place is fucking class, dude. That place is cool as hell.
Yeah.
You walk in and they have this bar that is made out of quartz or some kind of really cool stone, and they have LED strips laid underneath it that shine up through, so the bar
Nice.
is like semi-translucent
like shit like
and
that.
changes color. But like the chairs are really nice. The humidor is behind the bar, so the one wall is all glass, so you can see the humidor sitting behind the bar. They have a humidor attendant all the time. They have a wine room that's just floor to ceiling fucking wine bottles.
And what's this place
shit.
called?
That's Blend in Indianapolis. So there's one
Curcio's been to that.
there's
told me
one in the
about that.
golf tower downtown called Blend. But it's not, it doesn't have that same
swag.
Yeah, dude. It doesn't have the ambiance that place does. And that's kind of
panache.
what I'm getting to is like you'll walk into some place and you're like, oh, dude, this is classy. But you'll walk into one and it's like, wow, this blows your mind.
Yeah. Well, Pittsburgh is cool. It's a great town, but a lot of times they're not going to be on the same level as some of your bigger cities.
Yeah, but like this place wasn't in downtown Indy. It was just like out in the middle of somewhere that kind of felt reminiscent of Cranberry or Monroeville.
Okay.
Like there's no skyscrapers around or anything like that. It was just in a shopping center, and that place is cool as hell. I think for upscale places, one of the places that nobody knows about in this area, and it's a drive, is actually over at Nemacolin. Have you been to Nemacolin before?
I've been to Nemacolin, but
Okay.
I've never been to their cigar lounge.
If you go
I've heard good
into
things about it.
Nemacolin and you just turn left as soon as you go in, and this place has fucking crystal chandeliers, real marble floors, expensive paintings, fucking piano lounge, and the foyer or whatever when you walk in. Well, a lot of people don't know there's a cigar lounge in there. And you go in and there's this little itty bitty cigar shop, but it's all freaking handcrafted wood walls and trim and everything. Nice little cigar shop, not a huge selection, but a place where you could buy some sticks. And then you go through this door and there's this private room and there's a little bar in the corner. They've got all the highest end liquor that you could ever hope for. And then the rest of the room is just all of these little circular tables with like leather chairs with like the hand put in brass rivets
Mm-hmm.
and deerskin backs. So they're like deer
Wow.
fur on the back of the chairs. And then it's just like real low lit. There's this huge real fireplace.
So I wouldn't want that to be my go-to point, you
No,
know.
you need to go though.
But I would like to go there on occasion.
We go to Nemacolin as our place, that area. We don't stay at Nemacolin. We stay at the Stonehouse Inn. But we like
Shout
go
out to
there
Fred
for
Ziegler.
our anniversary.
He's the owner of that.
And we stay at the Stonehouse all the time, eat down there, go to the Lady Luck Casino, which is,
Mhm.
in my opinion, the coolest casino in the area too. But you go into this place and there's 10, 12 foot high bookshelves the whole way around this room. It feels like a private study. And you go start pulling some of the books off the wall. Some of these books, a lot of them are over 100 years old.
Wow.
it is such a cool environment
Yeah.
to hang out.
We should do that. We should get a group of
Oh,
guys
hell
together
yeah.
and go do that.
Well, I can't do that. It's got to be the wives too, bro.
Yeah,
100%.
cool.
Like not guys. It's not a guy's
Okay.
trip.
Yeah, my wife would be down. She's listening. Would you be down for that, Chris?
We will probably. I'll let you know when. But we should be able to this year for the first time in a long time go for the weekend for our anniversary, which is April 17th. So
Now, do you spend much time around Ohio Pile area?
Oh yeah, we do it all because my wife loves to hike.
Have you ever done the
So we did the
whitewater rafting?
caverns. No, we have not done that, but we do a lot of hiking down
get your
there,
whitewater
bicycling
rafting.
or whatever. There we go up to the dam, the Occoganey Dam and stuff. There's so many cool things
Yeah,
in
love
that
that
area.
That's a gem.
And then you've got like some cool bars, neat little, like restaurants and stuff that you wouldn't expect. It's just a great place to
Love it.
like just have a diverse outing for the weekend. Like you can do so many different things over there that you might not expect. We always have a great time.
Yeah, me too. I love that area.
So that's definitely one of the places though that I would say, like, if you if you want to see what like a real upscale cigar lounge experience is, that's the place, dude, is going into Nemacolin. And I've been there after work in the oil field where I've rolled up in my dirty ass fucking clothes in my Ford F-350 work truck and driven it up. And like the first time I went, they valet parked it. And I was like, next time I was like, nah, I'm just going to get a cigar. Like I'll pull up to the end, but like they treat you nice anyway, even though you very much look like you shouldn't be there and stuff. But it's just so cool, dude. You walk in there and you can feel the money in the air.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, dude.
Did you see he just died?
Joe
Hardy.
No, I did not.
Yeah, Joe Hardy passed away a couple days ago on his 100th birthday.
Jesus. That was the owner of 84 Lumber too, right? Like the guy that owned Nemacolin. I knew that.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Very cool place. Very cool place. They've got all kinds of, like, if you're not from Pittsburgh and you don't know Nemacolin, they've got like.
Have you ever golfed there?
No, I don't.
That's when. Do you remember John Daly? John Daly was the cigarette smoking guy with the
Comedy Central Daily Show.
No. John Daly is a professional golfer. I think he's kind of past his prime now, but he was a professional golfer that was his home course, and he was fat and smoked cigarettes and drank beer on the course, and
all right,
could mash the ball 400 yards and was a primo level golfer.
Yeah, not familiar.
Yeah,
that's okay though.
Yeah, check him out sometime. He's.
I feel like golf's going to be a part of my future life, but I need a lot of tutelage.
He's the redneck golfer's go-to guy.
Well, so I golfed for the first time on a golf course last year because of a work outing that I felt compelled to go to network with some of the higher up guys. And it was just a bad experience. Like I've talked about it on the show. I borrowed a girl's golf clubs and broke her driver. And
you borrowed a girl's golf set?
She was who I was riding with. Like there was a foursome of us, but there was like 2 and 2. And it was like, oh, you can use my clubs. I'm like, okay, cool. And like I snapped the head off of her driver, and it was not a good time. Plus, I was awake, but I had to work. I was like the only guy there that had to work after it was over.
Oh,
and I had to do a 12-hour shift. I ended up being up for over 24 hours by the time I got home. It was not a good.
I used to be big into golfing for
good stories,
long
bad
time,
experience.
But haven't golfed in several years.
So yeah, I think it's going to be something that I'd like to practice when I'm off the pressure and like buy myself a cheap set like on Marketplace or Craigslist of like used clubs.
Yeah.
And go out when there's not a caravan of 50 foursomes playing so that somebody has time to instruct me on what to do instead of going just like, oh, don't think about it. You'll be fine. I didn't think about it until I was thinking about the fact that I broke that girl's driver. I ultimately ended up.
Well, you shouldn't have been using girls' clubs.
$90 to replace. I don't know. I mean, I'm a little guy.
Yeah.
You can be my golf tutor, maybe.
I'm not that good.
Your league's better than me, I promise. All right, so let's move on to the new members of the week. As per usual, I may have trouble pronouncing some of them. So if any of you are actually listening to this show, I apologize in advance. But the new members to the Cigar Junkies Facebook group this week are Rebecca Falkenberg, Russell Gautreau, Bourbon Cigar Shop, Craig Reed, Dirkhalid Al-Hanini, All About Cigars, and Tom Ramirez. I like the last one. It was pretty easy. A little Spanish, but overall, not too difficult. And our participation trophy of the week goes to Rebecca Falkenberg because she posted a picture of herself with a cigar, and that's as easy as it is, kids. Participate and you'll be rewarded, mostly because we're trying not to repeat. And, the group has kind of the people that steadily post and interact and stuff.
The groupies.
Yeah. The junkies.
Junkies.
The junkies groupies. The groupies junkies. Something like that. One of those things fits, I'm sure. But, yeah. So thank you for participating, Rebecca, whether you listen to the show or not. Hopefully you will at some point, and you'll be like, oh, shit, I got my name on the air. 15 people heard that shit. So let's wrap up. How do you feel about the cigar overall now that you've had more full experience? Is this something you'd go back to?
Yeah, definitely. It stayed steady. The whole smoke.
Nailed it.
So sometimes I smoke a cigar and it gets real bitter or bold at the end.
Don't be scared,
harsh.
Kids. Don't be scared.
No, stayed steady the whole way through. I like it.
Hell yeah. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it.
You nailed this pick.
Yeah, that's what I do. Yeah, I think it probably pairs better with the Macallan than it does with the Hibiki, even if the Hibiki is your preferential drink.
Well, I can't tell because my glass has been empty for the last 15 minutes or so.
Do you not see where it's at? Get it. Get whatever you need. I think you've just enough reach there to get to it.
I'm gonna try some of this rum.
Oh yeah, we got the bamboo. That is the legendary bamboo rum of the Leaning House. Great fucking select. That shit's so good.
It's really good.
It's too good actually for like its own good, for our own good. For $36 a bottle, man, this shit just tastes amazing. And
down that, and I'll give you some.
No, I'm not gonna down anything. I'll have some after the show. You've had this before
at the Leaning House. Yeah, they had.
Okay, so like the first time
I went and looked for it at the liquor store and could not find it.
They have it now. So like we didn't have it for a while. Now we have it again. First time I drank it, I thought cookie dough without the chocolate chips.
Oh man,
I get that like vanilla extract, that sweetness for sure. And then somebody was like banana cream pie. And that just took over my brain. It actually is so much like the banana twin popsicles. When I was a kid, there was 2 popsicles you had to break apart. That
shit's dangerous.
Definitely. Oh, it's so good, dude.
It's so good.
It is so amazing. So actually, guys, I couldn't get a hold of Sam, so I don't know what we're smoking next week. I'll make sure that he posts it up on the Facebook group so you guys can smoke along with us if you choose to do so. But just remember, every Friday at 6 p.m., we do the show live on the Facebook group, whether Sam's here or not, because fuck it, we don't need him, right? So make sure you guys tune in if you're just a podcast listener or if you check us out on YouTube. Jump in to the Facebook group and hang out with us, and you can get your comments in on the show. Let us know what you think, and you can criticize us in person and all that happy shit. But thank you guys for hanging out and listening with us. I want to thank the always beautiful, as I call him, good looking Jeff, for hanging out with us. Actually, it's what you're saved in my phone as good looking Jeff. He's humble. He doesn't like it.
My boss has me saved as the Mr. Yuck sticker.
Your boss has no taste. But thanks for coming in last second. It was nice to have you here. I think
Awesome.
You did better
Thank you
than
for
you thought
having
you
me.
would. I think it was a pretty good conversation.
Had a blast.
Look forward to doing it again. So Sam's not here. I'll say it for him. Salute.